It's day 9 of our bucket list cruise to Alaska aboard the Viking Venus, and today we're in the town of Valdez. And we never got off the ship. And the reason why we didn't get off the ship is because after 8 days of being surrounded by people who sounded like they had bronchitis, it finally caught up with me. The stress, the anxiety from the beginning of the trip, and while we're doing the scenic cruising around Hubbard Glacier, it finally hit me and I started to get a sore throat. So we decided to ditch our plans of touring the city on our own and stay on the ship where I could rest and medicate because I really needed to be on my game for day 10. So now what I'm about to say is very controversial depending on which side of the fence you sit on. And prior to our trip to France and Italy in 2013, I was a member of Team Minimalist Packing, and I bought into the Rick Steves adage of you don't need to bring everything with you because you're going to civilizations. You're going to be able to buy anything that you find that you need. However, on that trip, Michael got sick in Paris, and then I turned around and got sick in Rome. And when I say sick, we just got basically basic colds. But unlike in the US, where you can run into 7-Eleven or the gas station or just about anywhere and pick up some Tylenol or some NyQuil, that's not the case in Europe. We had to wait for the pharmacy to open. And so ever since that happened, I am now a card-carrying member to Team Bring Everything You Freaking Have in your medicine cabinet. You are not having to wait in order to help yourself get well. So that evening, after touring the Hubbard Glacier and my throat started to get really scratchy, I was able to reach into my bag of tricks. And I have it turned towards me, but I'll turn it around because you're going to find out eventually. My husband is a 49er fan, but this is the smallest bag we have in the house. And this is my bag of tricks. And I was able to reach in there, grab what I needed to start making myself feel better because especially when you're on a ship, the medical center isn't open 24/7. And if you have to bother someone, ka-ching, that's a charge. And I'm not sure about other cruise ships since this was our first cruise in 30 years. Other cruise ships may have gift shops that have things, but Viking doesn't have a real gift shop. It's just maybe some clothes, some trinkets, but there is no OTCs that you can purchase. So I was able to reach into my bag of tricks. Now, mind you, I'm home now, so I don't have my travel sizes, but let me show you what I typically carry in order for us to not suffer. So I basically have the travel size NyQuil DayQuil combo, and that came in really handy because after I got my sore throat, then Michael got his. I also bring, because I'm one of those people now that I'm in my midlife, I now have allergies. I never had those before. I bring Tylenol sinus because when you're going to different climates, you never know what mold, what pollen, whatever's in the air might affect you. And then I also brought, now this is not a travel size. I always travel with the big thing of cough drops because even with not being sick, being in dry, air-conditioned air, it gives me kind of a dry throat or sore throat. So I always have these with me all the time. Basically, they're like candy. Then, of course, the travel size Tylenol, and where did it go? It fell over. My Tylenol PM too to help me kind of sleep at night because I don't know about you, but sometimes it takes me a couple of days or so to acclimate to a new bed, new sounds, new environment in order for me to go to sleep. So that also helps me go to sleep. And then because I'm also midlife and my knees, my ankles are not the same as I used to, don't leave home without the biofreeze. And just looking at a tomato when it gets close to dinner time gives me a little bit of antacid. I bring the antacid with me as well. And then I never know when I'm going to get a bug bite, and bugs love to bite me and I have terrible reactions always bringing this. This is like the best thing that they've ever created as far as itch relief for bug bites. I used to not think that, store brands were different from name brands until I got a bug bite a couple years ago and they didn't have the Benadryl, so I bought the Walgreens version and it did not work at all. So had to go back. Thank goodness they finally had the Benadryl back on the shelf and it takes away the itch. And then I don't have the box anymore because I only had the travel size and threw the box out when I packed the bag. Always take a little bit of Imodium. And also Visine also too for those allergy days. Now, the things that we took different for the cruise were we took Dramamine. And I took the Dramamine less drowsy because I didn't want to be sleeping all day. If you have ever taken Dramamine and said it didn't work for you, you probably weren't taking it right. And I learned this trick from a cruise with Ben and David. You don't take the medication when you're starting to feel sick. You take it well before. And well before means 2 to 3 days before you get on the ship. So if your ship is going to sail away on Friday, Tuesday or Wednesday night, start taking these and take them every single day until you get on the ship. And then on the ship, had zero problems. And there were people all around us who were green, not doing well, and we weren't really in rough seas at all. But I guess sometimes, depending on the type of motion, it can make you sick, but we had zero problems starting taking that. We did take the sea bands with us, never took them out of the box because those actually worked really well for me. So take it with a grain of salt. I am now a card-carrying member of Team Bring Everything You Have in Your Medicine Cabinet. So now back to Valdez. So we decided to stay on the ship, and I had breakfast this morning in Mamsens because I really wanted to try the waffle with the brown cheese. And a lot of people were like, the cheese didn't do it for them, but the cheese really did it for me. It really had that right combination of sweet and tangy with the maple syrup and the cheese and the berries. You either love it or hate it, kind of like the same thing here in America where you either really like cheddar cheese with your apple pie or you don't. So after breakfast, we went down to check out the thermal suite and grab a couple of massages, and we both really needed a massage. Now the thermal suite is completely covered in the cruise fare, so we didn't have to pay for that. Didn't have to pay for the massages, so if anything like mani, pedicure, get your hair done, you're gonna have to pay for. But we really enjoyed our time in the spa, and I can highly recommend it. Now, one of the things with the spa is you're going to be broken up in between a woman's locker room and a man's locker room, and inside of each locker room there's a dry sauna, but then everything else that you use is in the co-ed spot. Now, I am in the spa. I'm there to relax. I don't have any footage of this because I wouldn't want anybody taking video and pictures of me as well. However, I did get one picture because when I went into the women's locker room, there was a attendant there who asked me, was this my first time? And she walked me around. So I still had my purse, my clothes, all my stuff with me, and I had my camera. So I was able to get a picture, one picture of the room, and there's nobody in there. I'll provide a link to a video below from Hard Travel that walks you through the entire ship, and you can see all the wonderful features of this spa that I'm going to talk about right now. So after my massage, and what I loved about my massage was I know my body. And my masseuse came in and he asked me about my trouble areas, and I told him, you know, my neck, my shoulders really, really tense, and that's where I hold all of my stress. And, you know, I've shared with you just how stressed I was before we left for this trip. So he was like, oh, yeah, sure. I'll add that into the full body. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I really am tense up here. Just spend my entire time up there. He goes, we'll get the whole body in because that's part of the experience. Guess who never left my neck and shoulders? Do I know my body or do I know my body? I think he was more disappointed that he couldn't get to the rest of my body than I was. I was very happy. I got exactly what I needed done. So after that, I went back to the locker room and went right on into and enjoyed my time in the dry sauna. After I was thoroughly baked from there, I walked into the co-ed section and I jumped right into this big, giant, beautiful jacuzzi. There's maybe 3 of us in this thing that probably can fit 100. So after I let those bubbles do all the relaxing, as I was starting to get out, Michael came in from his massage and we went and relaxed on these beautiful, wonderfully relaxing hot stone chairs. And then we made our way into the snow grotto to cool off. And the snow grotto is actually a room that has snow that falls down from the ceiling. So that was probably a minute in there. That was all I could take. And then went over into the actual steam room to kind of work on, you know, my nasal congestion. And boy, did that help. Spending that time in the spa on a port day where there was hardly anyone in there, I think with Michael and I, maybe there were 5 or 6 people in and out around the same time, but never crowded, never next to anybody. Highly recommend you try the spa on a port day. So it's now day 9. We're back in the cabin after those wonderful massages, and we realized that we've never opened the bottle of welcome champagne that they gave us. So we decided we were gonna pop the cork on that guy, and we were going to toast to the sail away from Valdez, thoroughly relaxed and ready to move. And so we ordered a cheese tray from room service and really just enjoyed this view as we sailed away. So, have you ever had to skip a port or an excursion because you were sick or something else that came up? Let me know in the comments. What did you do to fill your day? Dinner that evening was at the chef's table, which is you don't get to pick what you want for dinner. They basically have a menu that changes like every 3 or 4 days. So when you go in there, you get what they have on the menu. They will make exceptions if you have any dietary restrictions or allergies, but for the most part, we just ate what they had and it was great. And then we left there and went up to the Explorer's Lounge so Michael could get a nightcap. And I was explaining to the bartender that, I had a little bit of a scratchy throat still. And he whipped me up the world's best hot toddy. That could have been the world's best because he put 18-year-old Macallan in there. But, I'm not going to argue. So a couple of those, back to the room and getting ready for the reason why I had to be well. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.